Winston Churchill used the terminology Western Christendom. And the first place that I know that he used it was in 1948 in Fulton, Missouri, when he gave his famous Iron Curtain Descending Across Europe speech. And when I hear that come from Winston Churchill, and I put that within my understanding of Western civilization, it adds more of the religious connotation to the term Western civilization than simply Western civilization itself. But it recognizes this, that, and I would take it back, that if we look at the flow of culture and the flow of civilization, the flow of the classics, for example, you can go back to Mosaic law. And Moses brought the law from God to the people and laid them out in the tablets, and he set up the judges segmented out throughout the population. And the rule of law was established well before that, but it's really established in Scripture under Moses, Mosaic law. The Greeks and the Romans would tease each other about it, but they adopted Mosaic law, and the Romans spread the rule of law, called then Roman law, throughout Western Europe. The places where they conquered and occupied, from Italy all the way up through Western Europe, clear up into England and clear up into Ireland. And the places across through the central part of Western Europe today, I'm thinking of Germany, where the Romans had their watchtowers set up to fight off the hordes from the north. Roman law was established there, and it was established in England. And then, when the Roman Empire fell and collapsed, still the rule of law emerged through that as it came through the Middle Ages. And I'm going to date the end of the Roman Empire someplace around 410 A.D. Then as we went into the Dark Ages and the Middle Ages, the foundations of that stayed in place. But Christianity coupled itself with the rule of law throughout those centuries, and they began building cathedrals in Europe as early as 300 A.D. that are still, those edifices, the foundations of them remain today. And so the core of our faith, the rule of law, God's law, and as that found its way forward, we got to the point of that flows from. I have to add this. This is essential component is the birth of Christ and the principles that he laid out. He built on Mosaic law, and his as a contemporary to Roman law. I'm just going to try this, and I'm not sure I'll remember it completely accurately, but I'm going to dust off an old memory and see if I can deliver this in a way that makes sense. I think that when Christ stood before the high priest, the high priest Caiaphas, and the high priest said to him, "Did you really say those things? Did you really preach those things?" And Jesus turned to the Jews and he said, "Ask them. They were there." And I think he was asserting then that he had a right to face his accusers. And he asked the accusers to make the allegation against him because of the principles of Mosaic law and Roman law. And he asserted that. And if you remember, the guard struck Jesus. And then Jesus said to the high priest, "If I have said is untrue, then you must prove that it's untrue." And that was, and then, or otherwise, why do you strike me? That's not the exact quote, but that's the principle. And so when he said that to the high priest, he's asserting this, that he was innocent until proven guilty. If what I say is true, is that if what I have done is wrong, you must prove the wrong. And so Jesus asserted Roman law, Mosaic law, before the high priest and reestablished it within New Testament Scripture. That New Testament Scripture found its way, of course, into Western Europe. Through those Dark Ages, Martin Luther reacted to that and put his principles up on the wall and established some more important principles, which are that the Protestant work ethic, coupled very well. Catholics are very good with the Protestant work ethic, by the way, as one. But Martin Luther put the competition in for Christianity and challenged the Roman Church's principles, and in doing so, out of it flowed a very robust Christianity, and that robust Christianity that was coupled with the work ethic and the free enterprise component of it, and the no work, no eat, which is something that found its way to the United States. All of that's a foundation that came over to the United States and landed on this continent at the dawn of the Industrial Revolution with no regulation, very little law, and a concept of manifest destiny that comes from God. That's Western Christendom. That's a short version of what's happened here in the United States. And I think that if you were going to seek to reverse engineer America, you could go back through history and try to reverse engineer it. You could not build America without Christianity. You couldn't have built America without Western civilization. Western civilization would not be Western civilization if it were not Western Christendom. And so I would chase those components back through history, from the United States, back to Martin Luther, back to the birth of Christ, Roman law that washed across Western Europe, down, of course, to Rome, over to Greece, back to Moses. All of that is linked. That's a picture of Western Christendom.